This episode of the Capsule in Conversation is brought to you by Harrogate Springwater. Famous for its waters since 1571, Harrogate is Britain's premium natural source water. Hello everyone, you are listening to the Capsule in Conversation podcast. I'm Natalie Anderson and today I'm talking the importance of open conversation around sexual health and STIs and the rise of sex tech with sexual wellness entrepreneur Georgia Di Mattos. So sit back, relax and get ready to join us in our conversation. I hope you're all well. Hands up who enjoyed that extra hour of sleep last week. Me. It's so hard to get out of bed these days, isn't it? I mean, I just want to stay snuggled under my duvet, really comfortable and just happy. Although, for many of you, this is the time to spice things up and get your extra activity between the sheets. You know who you are. And my brilliant guest today is on a mission to make it as safe as possible to have good sex. The founder of the Iplaysafe app, she's the brilliant architect turned entrepreneur, Georgia Di Mattos. Hi, Georgia.
Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I am so intrigued by your story and the development of the Iplaysafe app. I mean, just tell me a little bit about it because it's been heralded as a game changer for practicing safe sex.
Yes. So for the last 2 years, we've been developing an app, which is not just an app. We are a medical grade app, and it will allow people to share the sexual health status in a secure, safe, and quick way. Hopefully like that people will then not avoid having to share that piece of information because they're no longer going to feel like it's an awkward thing to do.
Because that's the thing, is we've kind of been conditioned, particularly in the UK. I mean, I know you're Brazilian and I think, perhaps there might be some cultural differences there, but for us here in the UK, we've been conditioned to basically keep quiet about sex, like let's not talk about it, like shh, and especially for women. And we have seen a rise in STIs in certain age groups, in the over 50s in particular. There's a huge increase, and it's because people aren't talking about these things, or they're embarrassed to go to the clinic, or all these different things. Now with Iplaysafe, you can actually test at home as well. Am I right in thinking that?
Yes, so we are a home testing kit. So that embarrassment of having to go to a STI clinic, so it will no longer be there. So you can actually do it for the comfort of your home and in a safe and secure way. And it's actually just as secure as going to a lab. It's just as safe and the result as accurate as going to a lab. So it's no more reason to having to get off your way to go to a lab to get tested.
And I think now, because of the pandemic, we're really used now to testing at home and to like dropping things off and getting our results back and, and then being tested by a lab. Do you think that because of the pandemic, that's kind of allowed you to progress quickly with the app because people are more open to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like COVID, in the beginning, me and my partner, we were like, oh my God, it's a disaster, the pandemic, because we're just starting, like for many reasons, but like also because we're just starting our company. In the first few months, we were still brainstorming just how we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, like a pandemic, a lockdown, and we thought it would be like, we wouldn't be able to proceed, to continue. But then COVID brought all this awareness on like how to manage spreading infection, how to keep that under control, and how to track and trace on an app, and all those things that people were not talking about, how to like about infections and about how to avoid catching, about how to avoid spreading. And COVID brought all this conversation to the table, and that really like helped us to progress quicker.
And I think, as you just said then, the importance of like with infection spreading so quickly, and it just shows, like what can really happen with that if left alone. I mean, it's seriously globally, like it has a huge global impact, like devastating impacts, as we've all seen. So it's really important actually that, particularly in past generations and, hundreds of years ago, things like syphilis and all these really terrible kind of diseases back from way back when, when you think about the plague and things like that, a lot of them were caused through sexual contact. And so it's really important that actually it can be very natural. That's a natural part of sex sometimes. And therefore, if we just keep it in check and get to the doctors, get treated, there's nothing wrong with it, there's no shame, no embarrassment, move on, we actually protect everybody. Like we all stay so much healthier. I mean, I'm intrigued as well as to how the actual app came about, because it's yourself and Bianca, who's your co-founder. Am I right in thinking you had a conversation about this on a nursery day out?
Yes. We were both on maternity leave, and that time, like when I got pregnant, it gave me time to really think about my career. Like I am a graduated architect, and I do love architecture, but the work, at least pre-COVID, was very office-based with long hours, crazy tight deadlines. And I wanted to start my own business and give myself more flexibility. My husband travels a lot, and having some business that would allow me to join him with his trips was on my priority list. And me and Bianca, we both we bound on a baby, a mom's group where all the moms were talking about babies, and we were like talking about our sex lives and like how destroyed it was just after the babies, and how it was, and so that will bonded us in the beginning, and like and now we're business partners because of it.
And how did you go from having a conversation about your sex lives to an app that tracks your STI status? Where was that jump? What happened?
So I met my husband on a dating app, for example, and pretty much like everyone, I did struggle to bring up my sexual health in the conversation. And when I was single as well, I always have I always struggle to have that conversation. And me and my husband have a slightly non-traditional sex life, where sometimes we do go out to sex parties and we might have sex with people outside our marriage. So for those reasons, I always, like in the past, and is still now, is still a product that I wished for it, and to be able to securely and safely view someone's status without having to ask for all the medical report with all sorts of unsexy information, and be able to share mine back. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then at some point, Bianca shared kind of the same information from a friend, a big friend, like a good friend of hers. And then I was like, oh my God, I do have this problem. Your friend have this problem. And then I start talking. It's like so many people have this problem. Actually, it's just not for it's for singles. It's people who have a lifestyle like this. Is for this. This is. I was like, oh, this is a business idea, and we started from there.
I mean, that's amazing. So this is the thing, like you're saying, there is a genuine need there, and again, it comes down to safety. And people should be able to kind of indulge in whatever activities they want to in a safe environment, as long as obviously it's not upsetting anybody else. But to be able to do that, as you rightly said, safely, and within like your marriage as well, and protect each other, so that you do have those healthy boundaries and you've set your boundaries. And for Bianca as well with her friends, and especially for a lot of younger people, I think now, technology is very much their life, and it's how they run their day-to-day life and business and everything else. The only thing for me, I think, that I had a concern with, and if you can just kind of talk me through this, is if somebody falsely tests. If somebody, for example, we've seen that with the pandemic, people have falsely tested positive or negative to either go to work or something else. And just that element of how can you be really sure that the app is true for that person, or does that just come down to a moral judgment on that person who's doing the test?
Yeah, it's about like I think the first thing that I should mention is that a status shared is not really a green pass for having sex without condoms. It's just another measure to make sure that you protect yourself and in your health, and you connect yourself with people with those same values. And sharing your sexual health status should not be seen as a straight invitation for sex without condoms and period. But like, how can you be sure that the app doesn't like get misused? Is like the straight answer is we can't really guarantee that. But what we can do is to minimize the chances for some faking results. For example, nowadays people are exchanging photos. That's how they exchange that's how they're sharing their sexual health information. They screenshot their last test results from a lab and they send each other a photo. And photos can be very easily manipulated nowadays with all those apps on your phone. You can do it in a second. You can just do it. But in another hand, it's like much more difficult for you to get access to someone's app that have their registered account with their test results and sharing cards to share with someone else. If you actually have a friend to ask to use your account to be able to share their status with someone, just run away from that friend, because it's just like, it's actually, jokes aside, it is a serious crime. And we did make sure with our legal team and that the people that are using our product, that they understand that they will be held accountable in such actions. It's like, you should only, like, your box is to get yourself, and your results are your results, and you share your sharing card and not like someone else. So, but when you're sharing inside the app, you minimize chances of someone faking anything. But we can't really guarantee anything in the world.
Of course. And this is the thing at the minute, even the best governments in the world can't kind of say 100% that their tests are all, not being misused. But the fact that you do have those safety procedures in place, people that are registered, they are held accountable, they've signed up to your app, and with that, there is a legal requirement to be honest and truthful. Yeah. And I think that straight away for people gives them that extra added assurance and security of, again, being safe and being able to trust that other person, it's a really great thing, because you want to be able to, like you said, without having the awkward conversation. And therefore you don't want to, you want to have these things openly, so that, again, the infection doesn't become on the rise. It doesn't, we want to make sure it's as minimal as possible, and that people are enjoying their sex lives, that they're having a great time. Yes. And yes. I mean, like, for you, would you say that sex tech is on the rise? Have you seen that yourself in the industry that you're in?
Yes, absolutely. I think we jump on this boat in the perfect moment. It's a big fat yes for sex techs on the rise. Obviously, there is still a lot of stigma around sex and investing in sex, but the sex tech is definitely on the rise. And the sex tech is not like typically where an angel or a VC investor splash their money. They normally have like these anti-vice policies, and so what we do is like, what we're trying to do is, like in a lot of people do, they try to make the landscape more attractive for investors, and wrapping themselves under the umbrella of wellness. Mm-hmm. And this is now an industry like the sex tech, which is like sex toys, apps, services. This is like a multi-billionaire industry, and is growing really fast each year. So investors simply can't really ignore anymore the opportunities, especially where they arrived like wrapped in labels like wellness or technology. So I do see this well-being movement as a big, like almost like key of like to make this industry to continue to grow.
I love that. You see, and this is the thing, is it should be one of the pillars of well-being, because we are human beings. We have sex. That's what we do, you know, and it's part of our physical well-being and mental well-being as well, you know, even with counsellors that are talking to couples or singles even, you know, an unhealthy sex life can cause massive ramifications for people emotionally and mentally as well. And so it's really important that this is part of one of the pillars of well-being. You know, I love the fact that Goop brought out a brilliant vibrator. They've got a new one as well coming out. And, you know, obviously for us in the UK, we had that kind of revolution a little earlier with like Anne Summers and Jacqueline Gold and women that were really pushing the boundaries for talking about sex, and it not just being women together huddled in the front living room, but, you know, actually getting it out onto the high street. And now that, as you said, you know, rightly so, it's been repackaged as sexual well-being, sexual wellness, rather than just, oh, it's a vice. And I think that's the problem, is we associate it so much sometimes with bad things instead of it being a health benefit. And, you know, you've picked lovely Lottie Moss as your ambassador. Tell me why you picked her.
Well, she was introduced by Vas Morgan, which is another of our ambassadors. And when he gave us a few names, and when he said Lottie, was like, oh, that's a very good fit. It feels like a very good fit. And like searching more like about her, and when we got to meet her, like she's a very, very impressive young woman. She always been very outspoken about sex. So it's been really refreshing to see someone like her who isn't ashamed to talk about her sexuality. And when you get to know her more, is like plenty of very other like interesting things that she's doing, and with her life she's trying to raise awareness around women getting spiked on clubs, for example. So basically she's committed on using of her influence for the good and trying to help other women, which is like really is my and Bianca's motto. So, and it is very important to bring to our team people who share those values. So like Vaz, like Ian, Gary, Nathan, and Layla and Ali, we have like a very nice team on board. And of course, Lottie has the platform to reach a large number of people, and that is very attractive for us.
And particularly a younger audience as well. In terms of your older audience, because as we said, you know, in the beginning, it's really important to reach that customer too, that person who's in their maybe 50s and 60s who want to enjoy a healthy sex life, and they may be single or they may not be single, but yet that for me seems to be the generation that talks the least. And so, you know, would you look towards getting another ambassador perhaps in that age bracket?
Yes, we like sex is like really ageless, isn't it? So when we've done our marketing strategy, we realized that our first adopters would be people that are on hookup dating apps, but we also could see that also will be, which is normally a younger generation, but we also could see that would be people that are going to sex parties, which is normally an older generation. So it's really, the app is like sex is for everyone. So sex is ageless, and the app is welcoming everyone.
And do you think, and it's important for you, I think I know the answer to this, but for you and Bianca as well, being women at the forefront of this app and this particular movement, it's important to get that message across that sex, again, is a healthy thing. It's not dirty. It's something that we should be enjoying properly.
Absolutely. Sex is such a wonderful thing, and far too many women are quite repressed on when it comes to sex, and it's just not right. So we want to create a space that people can learn about sex, and they can like all things sex in general, and discuss their sexuality without feeling awkward and ashamed. And like most of people will catch probably a STI in their lifetime, and it's just so important to ensure that if they don't feel ashamed and embarrassed and like judge even themselves, because if they don't like treat in that case, it could cause more serious things like infertility for a woman. So we do think it's very important to open up the conversation and make sure it becomes mainstream and people talk about it and feel empowered about talking about it.
And I know for you in particular, it's like a real mission for you to do this on a global scale as well, to take this globally and get that conversation out there. Because again, as you just said then, there's lots of women and men, but, for us, for women that still feel very repressed, that still feel like uncomfortable with sex. They don't feel, whether that's religious beliefs or whether it's social beliefs, a social climate, that they shouldn't be partaking in it. And actually great things like Sex and the City really like started to change that for a lot of women. Samantha was one of my favorite characters, and I loved her attitude towards her sex life was brilliant, and it was quite revolutionary at that time. But more women are becoming more empowered with their sex lives and how they see themselves. And then you've got brilliant like movements and groups such as the Happy Vagina, who we had brilliant Mika Simmons on last series, who was just fabulous. And also though, Dr. Larissa Corder told me on season 1 of this podcast, we don't get taught properly about having good sex. We get taught about getting pregnant and how you make babies, but we don't actually get taught like intimacy. We don't get taught anything about that. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because one important part of the app for me always been to create a space that we could like bring very interesting people on board on this space to bring that conversation. Because like the app could be very simple, could be literally to just track your results or share your status and have those two functionalities. And that would actually make our life so much easier, because like every time that we try to bring articles or a message, like the app is like in danger of getting banned because of you can't say sex on, you're trying to sell sexual health, but you can't say sex on Apple Store or Google Play. But I really insisted on this explore part of the app, where we bring people educational pieces and we in a light, fun way that people feel like just like nothing magical, nothing scary, just really nice, tiny, like light, not too big of like reading pieces that they can like just go to the app on a weekly basis, new information to feed them on and just get more educated on sexual health.
I think that's the thing. It's really important, isn't it? It's the education, ultimately. It's the education and breaking down the barriers. And as you say, bringing this more into the mainstream. I mean, our TV channels are doing a really good job, like Channel 4 and Channel 5. And just there's some brilliant documentaries and lifestyle kind of features on there that I think are making people discuss sex in a different way and being more open with it, so that the ultimate thing here is like what we said at the beginning, is making sure that infections don't get out of control, that people can have a healthy sex life, and that that women feel empowered, really empowered by this. Where would you like to see the app in the future? What are your next steps with it?
Ideally, having like dating apps, really like bringing that feature to their members, their users, where they can share what's their Iplaysafe app member name on their social, like on their dating profiles, because you don't really need to pay for the app. It's free to download, and you don't need to get tested to create your member name. So if people just go there, download the app and create a member name, all of a sudden anyone, and they show what's their member name on their social media profiles, all of a sudden anyone who actually have a status to share, they don't even have to ask like do you have a member name, or can you download the app? I want to share my status with you. If they know your member name, they're straight away going to go there and just send you an invitation. So it's like the conversation becomes even nicer and nicer and nicer, because you don't really have to have the conversation. The app makes the conversation happens for you. So having that space on dating apps would be really ideal, where just people can express like easily what's your Iplaysafe app member name, and if you want to get tested, then you have a status to share. If you don't have tested, at least someone can share their status with you if they want to.
And just for you, going forward, as we said earlier, the ramifications of sex, for a lot of people, there's an emotional impact there. I mean, do you and will you at some point provide on your website or on the app, as you are doing with educational pieces around different types of sex or just staying safe with sex, will you discuss the emotional impacts as well, so that for maybe your younger users just coming into having sex or that kind of arena, that they're getting that emotional support as well?
Yes, absolutely. Like the idea, like the app it's only can grow from here. We have version 1 out there, but I know exactly how version 10 is going to look like. There is a lot of things in the pipeline, including like support for youngsters, for example, and also like letting them have access to the app, because like it or not, it is still like an expensive product to get tested with our boxes. It's not like for the younger generation. And what we're trying to do now is we are in conversations with like NHS to be able to NHS send the free tests for the younger generation, but they can still use our platform to share their statuses, because then they will share, because it's not embarrassing. And bringing this audience, we will always come with like a huge responsibility on like making sure they have that support on information when it comes to like mental health or
I love that. So you clearly have a real vision for this. This is a movement. This is something that you and Bianca yourselves are really like spearheading and thinking you really want to change the face of kind of sexual health, the conversation around sex, and for younger people as well. And I think it's brilliant that you're having these conversations with the NHS, because again, just getting that message down to younger people so that from the get-go, they don't have that shame and that stigma and that embarrassment, and that they can ultimately, like we say, keep sex healthy. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Oh, Georgia, though, we've run out of time for today, but you've been absolutely brilliant. It's been so eye-opening to chat to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this space. We just launched, so for us, it's a product that is new, so it's very important for us to really make people to understand what's the app about, and having the sharing functionality. And the app is free to download. Go there, check it out, and have a try.
I think that's it, though. I mean, even the conversation that we've had, we've touched on so many different things that actually are really relevant. As we said earlier, that sex is it's an integral part of us as human beings, and being able to see that and not just see, oh, it's just an app for this, but actually there's so much more in there and how you really want to grow with it. I think honestly this is just the beginning, and it's really exciting times for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I hope you guys at home have enjoyed our conversation and that it's been helpful to you. It's definitely been educational for me, as I just said. If you'd like to find out more about Iplaysafe, then please visit www.iplaysafe.app to find out more information, and also download the app for free. For more wellbeing, fashion and beauty, you can visit us at our website www.thecapsule.co.uk, where you can also catch up with our previous podcast episodes by visiting the In Conversation page and subscribing to any of our podcast channels and YouTube. It would be lovely as always to hear your thoughts, so please feel free to leave us your rates and reviews. As always, if you're a social butterfly, you can catch us on Instagram and Facebook at Official Capsule, and I will be back next week with another very special guest. But all that's left for us to say today is goodbye. So goodbye from Georgia.
Goodbye. See
and
you.
goodbye from me. Bye. This episode of the Capsule in Conversation was brought to you by Harrogate Spring Water. Bottled at source, Harrogate Spring offers a pure, refreshing taste with a delicate blend of naturally occurring minerals and electrolytes, perfect for healthy hydration.